Yeah. Hey man, all I'm saying is, nigga, you always got something to say. It's like you don't shut up.
On the track.
A lot of niggas died 1865. Single Michael fled, how I ain't gon' let it ride. Everybody hot and black was never on your side. They do maps to tell your apps where you sleep at night. They put that white man on. Got you begging them for answers like that white man know. Had you swearing you was African, that's that white man home. Had you proud to be a savage, that's that white man's zone. And I ain't talking shit, this by definition. If being savage was our nature, y'all be non-existent. We done took your ass out when we was in them kitchens. Instead of showing you how to live and how to maintain business. White supremacy fake. Only way that shit real is if you do what they say. We the guard to the gate. So when they say they fear God, now you know what they made.
Suave on the track.
The Hollywood.
Work is on its way, boy.
Got a 4-5 and a drum, but a 5 in the street.
I sold my heart right to the streets and I can't play with that. This shit that I did for the streets, I'm not gonna talk about that. I bought my youngest a new 40, told him play with that. So when them niggas spin the black, how you gonna play with that? Got a 4-5 and a new drum, but a new 5 in the streets. Lay it down on the back blocks and I've died in the streets. 4-5 and a new drum, but a new 5 in the streets. Lay it down on the back blocks and I've died in the streets. Body's on my conscience and I won't let it. Paranoia taking over, I won't let it. Out your right mind, you won't sober. Well, the streets took a toll on you, but you a soldier. This shit I seen too many times before. Drugs taking over, they won't let them go. They make a wrong move, fuck it, we gon' let it blow. He just let me know that niggas' minds ain't right. Only killing for protection. My young niggas got obsessions. For that clout, they gon' press him. Consumed by the hate, another snake that's gon' bless him. He's supposed to be your brother, but he's screaming out that slime shit. Got a blood oath with my family, that's my tie. Now put your faith in me, and now we got it, we gon' all shine. And that's my word to the streets. 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 That's my word, yeah. I sold my heart right to the streets and I can't play with that. This shit that I did to the streets, I'm not gonna talk about that. I bought my youngest a new 40, told him play with that. So when them niggas spin the black, how you gonna play with that? Got a 4-5 with a new drum, got a new 5 in the streets. Lay it down on the back blocks and I've died in the streets. 4-5 with a new drum, got a new 5 in the streets. Lay it down on the back blocks and I've died in the streets.
Father God, first I ask for forgiveness. I ask that you look past our times that we have fell short. Father God, for the ones who do not know your love, Father God, I know that is my purpose to be a lighthouse in your grace. Wherever you lead my steps, whatever obstacle or hardships to come, I pray that you give us strength in the face of the enemy. Father God, thank you for listening to my soul. Amen.
I sold my heart right to the streets and I can't play with that. This shit that I did for the streets, I'm not gonna talk about that. I bought my youngest a new 40, told him play with that. So when them niggas spin the black, how you gonna play with that? Got a 4-5 with a new drum, got a new 5 in the streets. Lay it down on the back blocks that I've died in the streets. 4-5 with a new drum, got a new 5 in the streets. Lay it down on the back blocks that I've died in the streets.
Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. It's your brother, Big Aboriginal Power, man. I want to say peace and blessings, man. It's all love, Grand Rising. Hopefully everybody having a great Grand Rising in here, man. It's your brother. Hope I need everybody to share the live stream, thumb up the video, support the channel, man. Let's get straight into some of this fire-ass heat that we got cooked up for you guys. Hey, man, let me know where y'all at, what y'all smoking on this Grand Rising. This is the Wake and Bake Show, man. Let's get into the rest of the intro. Share the live stream, man. They shadow banning the channel. We're going to keep pushing out the algorithms. Let's get it.
The Hollywood. I had to really step back and look at my situation for what it was. I had to look at my life like it was a movie. I had to look at all the moving parts. I can really understand what it was. When they say love, make you blind.
Yeah, I'm introverted. I don't talk to niggas cause I'm constantly serving. I got a trap on top of my back, I got a murder. Hate goes on the block, the streets wanna murder. This shit come with burdens, the streets wanna murder. Streets wanna murder. I told you that the gang of ours that come with burdens. This shit come with burdens. This shit come with burdens. This shit come with burdens. Hate the city break. All the shit I see replaying in my head. Heard the streets talking, so we caught them boys instead. Black want to murder and he caught with another band. And I pray they would but it was right, really, niggas was crooked. Playing the bitty with niggas that cost them a bullet. They want to do it to him, but I had to pull it. We'll put in the streets, we'll put in the trap, I hate on the music. I wear my balls on this microphone, it's therapeutic. I know the streets listen when I talk, I can't abuse it, I can't abuse it. I can't abuse it, I can't abuse it, no, I can't abuse it. I don't talk to niggas cause I'm constantly serving. I got a trap on top of my back, I got a murder. Hate goes on the block, the streets wanna murder. This shit come with burden. I'm introverted. I don't talk to niggas cause I'm constantly serving. I got a trap on top of my back, I got a murder. Hate goes on the block, the streets wanna murder. This shit come with burdens. The streets wanna murder. Streets wanna murder. I told you that this gang of ours will come with burdens. This shit come with burdens. This shit come with burdens. If you're a baby, you know why I get it. Look at the ground, bitch, I'm ambitious. But when they talk, little baby, I'm different. And on my nuts, I handle my business. Hit my phone, shit in the business. I'm really proud of the shit that I'm living. I got a problem inside of my mind. I hear the streets talking, they tell me to get it. I gotta get it. Real shit tell me I'm kidding. Playing my money on top of my music to get myself what I was missing. I never got a nigga for a bag. I never caught a nigga in the jam. I know the ops stepping in the mood. I know my head going for a tag. I don't talk to niggas cause I'm constantly serving. I got a travel sound on bag and I got a murder. Shout out to everybody in the building, man. This is the Wake and Bake Show, man. Let's continue.
Yeah. Hey man, all I'm saying is, nigga, you always got something to say. It's like you don't shut up.
On the track.
A lot of niggas died 1865. Single Michael fled high, we ain't gon' let it ride. Everybody hollering black was never on your side. They do maps to tell your apps where you sleep at night. They put that white man on. Got you begging them for answers like that white man know. Had you swearing you was African, that's that white man home. Had you proud to be a savage, that's that white man zone. And I ain't talking shit, this by definition. And being savage was our nature, y'all be non-existent. We done took your ass out when we was in them kitchens. Instead of showing you how to live and how to maintain business. White supremacy.
Suave on the track.
Whatever it takes. Alleyway.
Coco, this your season right now.
They won't see me. They won't let me, yeah. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the strap. I know the odds wanna murder. I got a feeling, deep my stomach, paranoid, yeah. I won't let them, yeah. They won't see me, yeah. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the strap. I know the odds wanna murder. I got a feeling, deep my stomach, paranoid, yeah. I can't let them, yeah. They won't see me, yeah. I put attention, all in my blood, all in my veins. They started with Perky, now that hair right numb his veins. You started with serving, now them drugs drove you insane. Started with dealing, I grew up with killers, they taught me the game. I got some niggas that die behind, and that shit won't never the same. I know some niggas that lie behind, and that bullet had his name. Ain't no reason to cry about, cause that shit won't never change. MTF the 4th and P, my niggas can't get out the game. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the string. I know the odds wanna murder. I got a feeling, keep my stomach paranoid, yeah. I won't let them, yeah. They won't see me, yeah. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the string. I know the odds wanna murder. I got a feeling, keep my stomach paranoid, yeah. I can't let them, yeah. They won't see me, yeah.
Lost, see, I glossed through, shit ain't been the same. these feds giving names. Who gon' feed my family if they take me out the game? Keep one in the head and one eye open, that ain't change. I'm quick to catch a body. When I shoot, he shoot. I know bro shooting right beside me. Them hollow tips go through the wall and then they hit his body.
Pause you, love. Speaking. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Hopefully everybody's turned up this grand rising, man. This is the Wake and Bake Show. Y'all already know the vibes, man. Shout out to everybody that's tuning in that's not able to chat. And shout out to everybody that is in the chat that's able to comment and you know what I mean, show they love. I appreciate everybody that's tuning in that's not able to chat as well. We appreciate you tapping into the live stream this grand rising. I do want to take the time out to shout out some of the brothers and sisters that's commenting in the chat. Shout out to Michelle Norton. Good to see you in the chat, sis. Shout out to Samaj. Shout out to Jesse Stevenson, bro. I'm gonna hit you up later on too. I just seen your emails this morning. Shout out to Hard Rock. Shout out to General Peace. He said smoking Granddaddy Perp. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my brother smoking Granddaddy. Shout out to Chief Courtney Michelle. Chief Courtney Michelle says she in San Bernardino smoking on Black Mamba. Shit, that shit sounds good. Where you at again, San Bernardino? You right outside of LA? I need to pull up on you then, cuz. Real shit. Shout out to Chief Courtney Michelle. Shout out to Enoch's in the building. Shout out to Enoch's. Shout out to Tontinus Goddess. Shout out to Smoke God. Shout out to Snake God. And shout out to Darius Matthews. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Drop them fire emojis. Support the channel. Support the channel. Shout out to my brother Ron Torres. Shout out to Juan Torres in the building. Shout out to Craig Lloyd in the building. Appreciate y'all for tapping in, man. I got a nice bill for y'all. I want y'all to hit that like button, though, before we even get started. We need to run these likes up. We need to run these likes up. Because I want to kind of get into the conversation of what the title is, man. Because a lot of these people that you think be for our community and these standout Aboriginal, quote unquote, black figures are not for our community. They, in fact, are Boule members. Shout out to North American Negro in the building. Shout out to Marco Power. Shout out to TT Portier. It's always good to see you in here, sis. Real shit. I appreciate you. Shout out to Big Chief Noble. Shout out to Big Chief Noble. Appreciate you, gang. Shout out to King Tutorian. Shout out to King Tutorian in the building. Appreciate you, God. Is that music on iTunes? Yes, it is on iTunes. It's on Spotify, SoundCloud, and all other streaming platforms. Go show some support. You know what I mean? All you gotta do is type in Helliway on YouTube. You can go check out some of his music. I don't think you can even leave comments, but hey, go show some support. You can't leave a comment. Let them know that your brother, Big Aboriginal Power, sent y'all over there, man. Master Green in the building. What's going on, Master Green? Make sure y'all run up them likes as y'all come in the live stream. Y'all please politely thumb up the video. You know what I'm saying? I look at it like this. This is my crib over here. You know what I'm saying? This is like grandma's crib. Grandma left me the crib. All my cousins come over. Y'all my cousins, right? Blev and Nell, Marco Power, Juan, TT, Master Green, Enoch. Hey, listen, y'all the cousins. And this grandma crib, Big Aboriginal Power platform, this is like grandma crib. So everybody invited, right? But y'all gotta speak when y'all come in. The way you speak is by saying, hey, hitting that like button, dropping these fire emojis. You know what I mean? That's like, who the hell gonna walk up in grandma's house and not speak the rest of your cousins, unless you got an issue with one of your cousins? Would that be the case? But you in big grandma crib, man, uncle, you know what I mean? And your uncles never ain't here. It's just big cousin Al Power here. That's all. You understand me? So, hey, I'm running the show. So tap in with your cousin. And we let y'all smoke in grandma crib. Light them woods up, goddamn. Light them woods up. We smoking grandma crib. She'll be back tomorrow. We'll clean up house, goddamn. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Arthur Liverstein in the building. Shout out to my FBA brother in the building. Shout out to my brother Don P, my another FBA brother. Shout out to my brother Don P in the building. It's good to see you in here as well, bro. Yeah, man. So listen, man. Hey, this Black Boule secret societies, that's one of the main reasons I never want to move to Atlanta. Atlanta popping, Atlanta cracking, but it's a lot of Black Boule members there. Also in LA, also in other places like Philadelphia. You have these black Boule members here that kind of project and dictate how black societies is ran secretly. They're not really physically hands-on. Shout out to Lewis Luck. Shout out to Lewis Luck. Hey, Lewis Luck, what you mean Don P ain't FBA? What you mean? Yes, he is. I met him through the FBA movement. He was one of the spokesmen speaking on behalf of FBA, giving us more clarity. So I consider him an Aboriginal or FBA brother. So, I mean, Lewis Luck, I don't know what you're talking about. He just said, yes, I am. See, y'all niggas act like I don't know what I be talking about. Like, Lewis, cuz, you know what come on, cuz. You think I'm just gonna call a nigga some shit that I don't, you know what I mean? Shout out to my dog, Big Dog Philly OG in the building. Shout out to Lewis Luck in the building. Shout out to Mega Traveling Man in the building as well. Shout out to Boot Camp. What y'all smoking on, man? Let me know what y'all smoking on and where you at. Lewis Luck, it ain't nothing wrong with being an FBA or FAA, a foundational Black American, a foundational Aboriginal American. These are social political terms that describes us, that has a history and lineage tied to that. You understand me? Y'all niggas sneaking and watching, hit that like button. It's all right. Shout out to my guy, Root Words. Root Words, I told you to call me the other day, and your ass never called me, fool. I want to chop it up with you. I'm gonna be in your area real soon. So make sure you call me, man. Make sure you call me, Root. Email me or something. If you email me, I'll shoot you my number, gang. Shout out to Craig for the Cash App donation. He sent the $2 supporting the $2 challenge. He said for the information. I appreciate it. Make sure y'all support the channel. The $2 challenge still is in effect, so make sure y'all support the channel. Shout out to Craig for the $2 challenge donation. Sent for the information. We're gonna get straight to the information in a second. I just want to allow some of the family to get up in here. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Al, when I Cash App you, it comes to you as my government name. Burn Lynch. Support is on the way. Burn Lynch. All right, for sure, bro. I'll keep it in mind, bro. I'll shout you out for sure. You know, I shout out everybody that support the channel. Hey, Root, your name long as fuck now. This nigga named Albo Indian, MSTA, African versus Blackamoor. That nigga got the longest name on YouTube, yeah. Root Words, make sure you hit me up, fool. Why you acting like you don't want to call me, nigga? All right. Root Words, that's all right, gang. I fuck with Root Words. Y'all might not. Root Words is a real nigga, man. He don't agree with everybody. I don't expect for niggas just to agree with niggas. You know what I'm saying? He a buster too. Damn, he a buster. Shout out to my nigga Juice in the building, man. What's up, Juice? You know the vibes, gang. Light that shit up. I'm in Michigan. Oh, you in Michigan now, Root Words? You moved? You ain't living in Ohio no more? Hell, that's what's up. Better be careful out there in Michigan, boy. Y'all ass must be in Grand Rapids somewhere, goddamn Ben Harbor somewhere. You on the outskirts. Top of the AM family. We are in this motherfucker. Landmat, LA in the building. Hey, shout out to D Phillips, man. LA in the building, man. Y'all already know 52nd of Hoover. You know what I'm saying? Florence, Figaro, all that, man. Shout out to my nigga D Phillips, man. What you smoking on? Where you at this Grand Rising, man? Where y'all at this Grand Rising, man? Let's get straight into the heat, man. Y'all ready for this Black Boule conversation? Hey, cuz said he a custer. Cuz is a general custer. Cuz that's a custer. How nigga gonna be a custer? Hey, shout out to my nigga King Tutoring for the Cash App donation. He said it's been a minute. Hold on. Is that the right nigga name? Hold on. Hold on. Let me go to. Nah, that ain't even King Tutoring. Shout out to my nigga Pernell Smith for the Cash App donation. Shout out to Pernell Smith for the Cash App donation. He said, for peace, gang. It's been a minute. Shout out to the gang, man. You already know it's been a minute. The algorithms ain't been fucking with it. You know what I'm saying? Y'all don't be clicking in my algorithm. So some of y'all niggas might catch a live stream. Some of y'all might not. Ain't nobody picking on Root. Root my nigga, man. Me and Root will go debate any nigga on America. I'll team up with Root against any nigga tag team debates. Don't let us start talking about America and them rivers, huh? And how Europe really was in Canada. Oh shit, y'all niggas dead. Don't come on, man. Don't let me and Root Words do a tag team debate. If any nigga want that smoke with me and Root, man, just let us know. We'll do a friendly debate for the community. Tag team shit. Me and Root go that bitch like the Dudley boys. You understand me? We get the ladder, Root. Get the chair, motherfucker. Get the table, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Root, get the table. You know what I'm saying? I'm Dudley boy coming off the top ropes like it. Damn, that shit say my government. Oh, my bad, Albo. Albo God. Shout out to the Albo God for the cash out donation. He said for peace, gang. It's been a minute. Albo God, my bad, gang. My bad. That nigga named Panel. Nah, I was just fucking with you, fam. Shout out to Cuz. Shout out to Cuz. I didn't see King tutoring yet, but yeah, he on the way. Hey, but listen, PayPal information is on the screen too. PayPal information is ticking across the screen. There's Big Aboriginal Power, all one word for the PayPal. So make sure y'all support the channel. My bad, Albo guy, cuz that's what it popped up as, cuz I didn't even know what was up. But shit, shout out to you though, cuz. Niggas be scared to say they government. Like, nigga, I don't give a fuck about niggas knowing my government. Nigga, everybody in my city know my government anyway. It's like niggas be hidden around in my cities. Shout out to the Temperance. Shout out to TT Portier for the cash app donation as well, supporting the $2 challenge. We appreciate all the support. Good water, good water. Shout out to TT Portier again, once again, for the cash app donation. We appreciate all the support. So listen, man, can we get some fire emojis in the chat? Can we get them likes run up? Can we get these likes ran up? Can we please get the likes ran up, please? Let's run up these likes. Let's run up these likes. You heard? Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. I need everybody to drop them fire emojis in the chat right now. Y'all thumb up them videos right now. Y'all thumb up the video right now as we speak, man. We're gonna get straight into some shit, man. I got some shit lined up for y'all. Where we at? We on the YouTube? All right, man. Make sure y'all support the channel, man. Shout out to Shamel Thompson. Shout out to Michelle Norton. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Let's get straight into this. Let's get straight into it. Y'all ready? Let's get it.
Quote, according to the customs and regulations of our ancient brethren, every candidate is required to be a freeman born of a free woman. This formula was originally considered to be an unchangeable landmark. But on the extinction of Negro slavery in the West Indies by the British Parliament, the following arguments were used at a Grand Lodge meeting September 1st, 1847, in favor of this alteration. The Grand Master requested the brethren to consider the propriety
so dope, my
form by which a candidate for initiation declared himself to be freeborn. There are, he said, at present moment, many men in Jamaica and other places who are free by the law of emancipation, and yet their mothers having been slaves, they cannot conscientiously sign such a declaration, knowing it to be untrue. And in the absence of that preliminary act, we cannot initiate them. I should be glad to see it altered and therefore move that in the future we substitute.
Let's run that back. I want to make sure y'all paying attention, man. Hey, we're about to get into the history of the Black Boule. This is like the introduction part. It's going to be like a 30, 45-minute introduction. Then we get into the other part of the actual Boule conversation, dealing with all these other riots and rituals that they do. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. This is the time that you fire up in the hole, light them woods up. If you got that shit rolled up, what y'all smoking on, light it up. This is the Wake and Bake Show. We about to get right into it, man. Make sure y'all support the channel. This is Big Aboriginal Power. Hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 11,000 subscribers by the end of this month. So let's try to make that shit happen. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Let's try to get 11,000 subscribers on this channel by the end of this month, y'all. Let's get it.
I should be glad to see it altered and therefore move that in the future we substitute the word free agent for freeborn, and that the declaration be thus revised. After a friendly conversation, which lasted some time, it was unanimously resolved that the phrase in the future should be freeman, and the words freeborn should be canceled.
So they saying that these freedmen's is pretty much descendants of these Black Boule members. You know what I'm saying? Listen.
End quote. From the official history of Freemasonry among the colored people in North America. There is a myth that persists within the psyche of most anyone who has ever considered history for themselves. This myth has clouded any chance for anyone to view events from the past with any enlightened contextual perspective. It seems as though when people think of European colonization during the Age of Discovery, the racial lines between the European, the African, and the American have already been drawn in our mindset. The white Caucasian conquered and exterminated the Mongoloid American and transplanted the Negro African into America for the sole purpose of slavery. And this narrative is academically attested to by all reputable institutions of so-called higher learning the entire world over. These ingrained statutes virtually define a well-constructed social hierarchy based upon the prefabricated connection between race and history. Simply put, by their template, Europe was a completely whiter Caucasian half-continent, Africa was a completely black continent, and America was a completely Mongoloid continent. You'll often hear it stated that Columbus was the first so-called white man to step foot in America. But was that nigga even white, though? Within this template is packaged several.
No, he wasn't white. We know Christopher Columbus wasn't white. We know Christopher Columbus wasn't no fucking white man.
Pre-formulated conclusions that lead this socio-racial outcome to formulate narratives within the greater scale of the myth. One of these narratives is the out of Africa theory, which is based in Darwinism, that postulates over millions of years of evolution, primates developed into humans. Also neatly wrapped in this conclusion is the Beringia theory, which attests the first people in America were Siberians who immigrated across the Bering Strait from Asia to Alaska. These two theories are the cornerstone for world academic historical fallacy. This fallacy must be protected at all costs. The very same institutions built upon these perpetuations will crumble beneath the lifted veil in due time. These institutions employ their most important agents to the various gatekeeper roles, and of the most imperative jobs of the agent, maintaining that template is the most important. And the most essential part of maintaining that template is secrecy. One should not be surprised that most, if not all, of these men work in the dark, as to be kept by a classified chain of command. With the emerging American caste system of racial identity-based status, certain measures had to be put into place to assure a well-received public indoctrination, most especially amongst those who had been captured and enslaved in America during colonial expansion needed the most assimilation. As previously highlighted, religion, most predominantly Christianity, was used as the coagulant between an American slave and a socially prominent free black man. The first assemblies held under the captured population after the year 1776 were strictly tied to Christian abolitionists. The path that would lead an enslaved man to freedom and success took a direct path through the church. The concept of race and status was not as it is today, or better yet, not as we perceive today. Most essentially, European did not exclusively mean Caucasian, just like African did not exclusively mean Negro. And American definitely didn't mean Mongoloid.
Definitely didn't mean Mongoloid. I just want y'all to pay attention to what my bro said, man. He going in.
The race and status was not as it is today, or better yet, not as we perceive today. Most essentially, European did not exclusively mean Caucasian, just like African did not exclusively mean Negro. And American definitely didn't mean Mongoloid. These connections were part of the development of the American social curriculum that didn't really find itself developed in the minds of so-called blacks in America until after slavery and the introduction to public education. The education of a slave or any black into society held within one historical prerequisite concerning their own history and condition in America. They had been taken and shipped from a place called Africa. Understanding the complexity of eras during the colonization of the Americas is essential in gaining perspective relating to the development of this ideology. From the moment our historical record begins in the year 1492 with Columbus until after the year 1776, there are nearly 300 years, during which certain European nations and families invaded American shores with clandestine military campaigns. Their ammunition of choice, large ships, advanced weapons of war, such as guns, and of course, disease. The usual MO for the colonialists was to invade coastal regions and ports to the sea and gradually move upriver inland as they set up forts in strategic positions. Traders and merchants were these men in their interactions with the people of the land, yet agents to the crown in their true duty. And trade was their method of manufacturing.
Hey, shout out to the brother King Tutoring for the Cash App donation. We appreciate the support. Shout out to King Tutoring. Make sure y'all support the channel, man. Cash App tags ticking at the bottom of the screen along with other payment information. The most important thing y'all can do for this platform, man, is share the live stream and thumb up the video, man. Run up them likes, man. Shout out to the brother Byron. Shout out to the nigga King Tutoring for the Cash App donation, man. Let's get it.
Bring false debts, which in some cases led to Europeans owning land. Trade was their method of manufacturing false debts, which in some cases led to Europeans owning land. The Spaniards, Italians, and Portuguese were first to make their mark, intruding first the Caribbean, then into Mexico, Central and South America. By the year 1600, the Aztec and the Incan civilizations had been subjugated by the Spanish, and Brazil by the Portuguese was on the same path. By the mid 1600s, the Mayans had begun commingling themselves with their Spanish invaders as a way of avoiding further extermination. But the invasion narrative of North America has a quite different timeline of infiltration, as well as different flags of infiltration. The Spanish attempted to claim areas of Florida, first with Ponce de Leon, then with De Soto, making expeditions into the interior. However, De Soto was eventually killed, and the Spanish were ultimately foiled by the Indians in his attempt. However, St. Augustine was set up as an outpost for the Spanish after they destroyed the French Huguenots' Fort Caroline near Jacksonville, Florida. One practice by the Spaniards that seems to go overlooked is the fact that any captured Indian was used as a slave. These people could not have been escaped Africans, as the narrative supposes, because barely any African slaves have been brought to the shores of America. This pattern of enslaving captured natives was also the primary method for containing natives used by the British, French, and even the Dutch. This practice brings us face to face with the truth about slavery in America. The first slaves were captured Indians. Yet so much emphasis is put on the year 1619 and the arrival of the first African slaves in North America. But the truth is, this propagandization of the year 1619 as a jumping off point for the arrival of so-called blacks into the Americas is a complete fallacy. Not only were black people already in America, but even the year 1619 is a rather arbitrary date meant to signify the arrival of Africans into Jamestown. According to the Transatlantic Slave Trade Database, prior to the year 1700, less than 5,000 total African slaves were taken from Africa to North America. Yet by the late 1680s, Virginia was already enacting laws to combine the legal status of an African slave and
Let's run that back. I want y'all to pay very, very, very close attention, y'all. If y'all enjoying this bill, please drop some fire emojis. We haven't even got halfway in it. We ain't even got a quarter ways in it. This is going to be a lengthy video, very informational based. I want y'all to pay attention. That's why I'm not even talking through it, because they illustrating and breaking it down very thorough. So I want y'all to hit the like button, thumb up the video, and support the channel.
The off point for the arrival of so-called blacks into the Americas is a complete fallacy. Not only were black people already in America, but even the year 1619 is a rather arbitrary date meant to signify the arrival of Africans into Jamestown. According to the Transatlantic Slave Trade Database, prior to the year 1700, less than 5,000 total African slaves were taken from Africa to North America. Yet by the late 1680s, Virginia was already enacting laws to combine the legal status of an African slave and Indians into one category, slaves and other Negroes. According to the database, the highest influx of Africans on the continent took place between 1750 and 1808, after the British banned the slave trade with the Slave Trade Act of 1808. But here's the issue, and here's the secret that must be kept. Who were the colonists fighting in those wars with the Indians? From the Yamasee War until the Trail of Tears. By the time of Prince Hall in 1787 and his initiates creating the African Lodge, 459, America was already undergoing its own replacement theory. The time of Prince Hall in 1787 and his initiates creating the African Lodge, 459, America was already undergoing its own replacement theory, similar to that of Europe. And by this time, the French and the British were the major invaders of North America. The sovereign identity of the American was changed on the record and amalgamated with African slaves, which means any new so-called Negro who wants to climb the social ladder out of captivity and into any level of success will have to hold this invisible line. The population census numbers for the year 1790 calculate 700,000 slaves. Where did these slaves all have come from, since this number is twice the total number of African slaves brought to America throughout the complete duration of the slave trade? These numbers are a clear indication of captured Indians being reclassified into slaves, and this does not include the number of free blacks. How did these people become enslaved? The British made a few attempts to colonize the coast of North America prior to the year 1600, but they were unsuccessful, basically due to the Indian skepticism about these new settlers and the fact North Carolina did not have any large navigable ports for them to implant 100 soldiers at one time. But a little less than 20 years later, the British did establish themselves in the middle of Powhatan territory in Jamestown, Virginia in 1607. From the Jamestown settlement, the colonists were...
And in 1607, you had a large importation of white slaves entering in Hampton and Jamestown, Virginia, coming from London and Britain, usually coming from London. A lot of these slaves came from London around 1609, shipped out by Oliver Cromwell. Look it up, man. A lot of these white slaves came over here.
Able to set up a network chain supply between them and England, which allowed them to stockpile soldiers and ammunition for the wars with the Virginia Indians, whom had already begun attacking the settlement. Over the next half century, the Virginia hordes massacred men, women, and children of the Virginia tribes. Many were captured and sent to the West Indies, while others were put to hard labor on tobacco plantations in Virginia and Maryland. Similar to the plantation in Talbot County, Maryland, the birthplace of Frederick Douglass, whose plantation owner was an Englishman and the governor of colonial Maryland.
Rise up and walk. Oh, you've been blessed this day.
Hey, shout out to the brother Enox for the Cash App donation, supporting the $2 channel. He said, keep putting these Pan-Africans, let me see, he said, keep putting these Pan-Africans into the submission. You feel me? Into submission. You already know, man. Shout out to the brother Enoch supporting the $2 Cash App challenge, man. Make sure y'all support the challenge. Support the challenge, man. Let's continue.
You've been blessed. Rise up and
The wars between the colonists and the tribes of Virginia were the first real battles to take place in the present-day United States in which Europeans successfully colonized. But it must be understood that these colonists essentially perpetuated a war strategy under the veil of trade. In Virginia, the first traders and planters were essentially large gangs of criminals with guns who would ambush villages of Indians, capture them, and put them to work on tobacco plantations, which quickly became a cash crop for King James, who retained a cool 20% of colonial profits of the Virginia Company. But the tribes were still not completely subdued. The Virginia colonists were under constant threat of extermination, even up into the mid-1700s. But as the military gained strongholds and strategic positions along rivers, the British gradually began to overtake Virginia with an influx of newly arrived fighting criminals. As a consequence, many tribes thought their only recourse was to enter into treaties with the colonialists in order to preserve their way of life. One of the first Peruvian treaties signed was the Treaty of 1677. This treaty appointed these specific tribes in Virginia as tributaries to the crown and supposedly assured their sovereign rights to continue living as they were within their traditional homelands, as long as they were loyal to the English crown.
And let's try to get 200 people in this live stream before the hour and 30-minute marker. So we have about 45 minutes to try to get another 100 people in here. So the only way we're going to be able to do that, you guys, unless we have all my cousins in the chat, share the live stream on all the social media outlets. So I appreciate y'all if y'all go share it on a TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Share the live stream. I appreciate the support, y'all. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Drop them fire emojis in the chat if y'all enjoying the bill and if y'all can hear everything loud and clear. It's your brother Aboriginal Power. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you can get all your latest updates and notifications to the live stream. Let's try to get 11,000 subscribers on this channel by the end of this month, you guys. Let's go.
Not all colonists agreed with this plan to include Indians as tributaries, which ultimately led to Bacon's rebellion. Quote, a short history of British colonial policy. Between half and 2/3 of European immigrants to the 13 colonies between the 1630s and the American Revolution came under indentures. Wow, that's basically all the people, most of the people. In any case, while half the European immigrants to the 13 colonies had been indentured servants at some time, actively indentured servants were outnumbered by non-indentured workers or by those whose indentures had expired. Thus, free wage labor was more common for Europeans in the colonies. Indentured workers were numerically important, mostly in the region from Virginia to New Jersey. Other colonies saw fewer of them. The total number of European immigrants to the 13 colonies before 1775 was 500,000. Of these, 55,000 involuntary prisoners. Of the 450,000 or so European arrivals who came voluntarily, Tomlins estimates that 48% were indentured. About 75% were under the age of 25. The age of legal adulthood for men was 24. Those over 24 generally came on contracts lasting about 3 years. Regarding the children who came, Gary Nash reports that many of the servants were actually nephews, nieces, cousins, and children of friends immigrating Englishmen who paid their passage in return for their labor once in America. Came on contracts lasting about 3 years. Regarding the children who came, Gary Nash reports that many of the servants were actually nephews, nieces, cousins, and children of friends immigrating Englishmen who paid their passage in return for their labor once in America. By the beginning of the American Revolutionary War in 1775, only 2 to 3% of the colonial labor force was composed of indentured servants. Basically, these were the first white slaves in America, indentured servants. Many of them, as you'll come to find out, criminal. Quote, the consensus view among economic historians and economists is that indentured servitude became popular in the 13 colonies in the 17th century because of a large demand for labor there, coupled with labor surpluses in Europe and high cost of transatlantic transportation beyond the means of European workers.
Shout out to Sham for the Cash App donation, supporting the Dollar Challenge. Shout out to Sham. We appreciate all the support, man. Really do, man. We appreciate all the support. Make sure y'all thumb up the video as y'all enter in the live stream. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Please drop them fire emojis. Flood the chat out with fire emojis if y'all enjoying the bill. We ain't even got started yet, man. We just get this the intro.
Between the 1630s and the American Revolution, 1/2 to 2/3 of white immigrants to the 13 colonies arrived under indentures. 500,000 Europeans, mostly young men, also went to the Caribbean under indenture to work on plantations. Most indentures were voluntary, although some were tricked or coerced into them. A debt peonage system similar to indenture was also used in southern New England and Long Island to control and assimilate Native Americans from the 1600s through the American Revolution. Quote from America at 1750, a social portrait by Richard Hofstadter. Quote, banishment or forced exile has been used as punishment since at least the 5th century BC in ancient Greece. The practice of penal transportation reached its height in the British Empire during the 18th and 19th centuries. Transportation removed the offender from society most permanently, but was seen as more merciful than capital punishment. This method was used for criminals, debtors, military prisoners, and political prisoners. Penal transportation was also used as a method of colonization. For example, from the earliest days of English colonial schemes, new settlements beyond the seas were seen as a way to alleviate domestic social problems of criminals and the poor, as well as to increase the colonial labor force for the overall benefit of the realm. Quote, initially based on the royal prerogative of mercy and later under English law, transportation was an alternative sentence imposed for a felony. It is typically imposed for offenses for which death was deemed too severe. By 1670, as new felonies were defined, the option of being sentenced to transportation was allowed. Forgery of a document, for example, was a capital crime until the 1820s, when the penalty was reduced to transportation. Depending on the crime, the sentence was imposed for life or set for a period of years. If imposed for a period of years, the offender was permitted to return home after serving his crime, but had to make his own way back. Many offenders thus stayed in the colony as free persons and might obtain employment as jailers or other servants of the penal colony. England transported its convicts and political prisoners, as well as prisoners of war from Scotland and Ireland, to its overseas colonies in the Americas from the 1610s until the American Revolution in 1776. Not all colonists agreed with this plan to include Indians as tributaries, which ultimately led to Bacon's Rebellion, in which indentured servants and supposedly enslaved Africans banded together under Nathaniel Bacon and destroyed Jamestown, causing then Virginia Governor William Berkeley to flee. But even more to boot, Bacon's gang of up to 500 men began raiding Indian villages in an attempt to either exterminate or run every Indian out of Virginia, regardless of crown status. Bacon's rebellion was the catalyst for the creation of the 1705 Virginia Slave Codes, which would classify specific rights for enslaved people based upon race, while simultaneously transferring the identity of a captured Indian into a new classification of African slave. As well as the result of the codes, free blacks could no longer employ white servants and could be accosted at any time for suspicion of escape, meaning free blacks always had to carry their freedom papers. Shortly after the initiation of the slave codes in Virginia, a flood of Africans were shipped to America, especially between the years 1750 and 1808. At the same time, European so-called blacks were being inserted into a secret aristocracy as representatives of indigenous Americans. Case in point, Prince Hall, or even New York Prince. By the year 1800, the American identity had not only been amalgamated with Africans, but also with Moorish and brown-skinned Europeans who ran the spectrum from Italian to Dutch, which means German, which means English, Spanish Moors, French Huguenots, to Sephardic Jews. Most of these groups, not being considered classically white, were the people displaced following the fall of the Moorish Empire in Spain in the year 1491. One shouldn't be surprised how many of these people ended up in America. As mentioned before, the Dutch had primarily locked down New York under the auspices of trade, of course. The families of Moorish Dutch explorer Jan Jansen landed in New Netherland not long after the Dutch West India Company hired Henry Hudson to explore between the St. Lawrence River and the Chesapeake Bay. The practice of European nations hiring a foreign explorer to scout and colonize lands is an aspect of colonialism that requires more investigation for contextual clarification. Henry Hudson was an Englishman hired by the Dutch to explore between the Chesapeake Bay and the St. Lawrence River in 1609. But this area had already been explored almost 100 years earlier, just not colonized. In 1524, Verrazano explored the same area, but he was hired by the King of France to explore from the Carolinas to the St. Lawrence Seaway. Yet, Verrazano was an Italian, similar to how Columbus was Genoese Italian, but was sent by Spain. Quote, "They are dark in color, not unlike the Ethiopians, with thick black hair, not very long, tied behind the head like a small tail. As for the physique of these men, they are well proportioned, of medium height, a little taller than we are. They have broad chests, strong arms, and other parts of the body are well composed. There is nothing else except that they tend to be rather broad in the face, but not all, for we saw many with angular faces." End quote. For all of these supposed conflicts between all of the European nations during the age of imperialism, their interstate participation in the face of conflict was phenomenal. Of course, there's no real reason to fight over shit that's not yours. You could just pretend to fight, but secretly work together. Let's be clear. All of these wars between European powers were in Congress to subdue the indigenous people of the land and enslave them. The land was partitioned and traded peacefully between Europeans. That is, even the largest plots of land, like the Louisiana Purchase and Spanish Florida, were ceded to the British with relatively zero drops of bloodshed. The same can't be said for the Indians. The surnames of the supposed African descendants reflect geographically the path and nation of colonial spread, and subsequently the spread of indigenous American captives following emancipation. For example, there are several common surnames amongst the general population: Smith, Williams, Johnson, Jones, Brown, Davis, and Miller, just to name a few. And of course, these last names are common to so-called Black people as well, although these names point to a specific origin: England, Ireland, or Scotland. These last names represent the majority of slaveholding names during emancipation. Take the name Williams, for example. Most etymologists will say it's English, Welsh, Scottish, or of Irish origin, but foundationally, the names are Germanic, as is the English name. This means that the German-Dutch colonial bloodlines should be associated with English bloodlines as a result of the Norman invasion of 1066. Will?
Hey man, so hopefully y'all heard what's going on. I'm gonna end this right here because it's gonna get into my next set of videos. So I want y'all to listen to what was just been said. Hopefully y'all got a vivid memory. We're gonna take a quick 60-second break. We're gonna get right into the next set of audio I got for you guys. Be back in 60 seconds.
See my life has been in motion. I'm a little windy. I'm not giving up yet. If you with me, time to place up your bet. Ain't no turning back, got niggas who ran. When we caught his ass, got caught in that jam. Yeah, you know who I am. Yeah, you know who I am. I can feel it coming. I can feel it coming. It's that feeling in your stomach, you can feel it coming. It's that feeling in your stomach, you can feel it coming. Yeah, you can feel it coming. Fake love, that snake you in your face, love. That snake you in your face, love. I told my brothers we gon' make it, that's how God wrote it. And the snake gon' show his face, cause that's how God wrote it. Too much fake love, that snake you in your face, love. Your face, love. That snake you in your face, love. I told my brothers we gon' make it, that's how God wrote it. And the snake gon' show his face, cause that's how God wrote it. Too much fake love, that snake you in your face, love. Your face, love. That snake you in your face, love. I told my brothers we gon' make it, that's how God wrote it. And the snake gon' show his face, cause that's how God wrote it.
Group, New York. And again, I am the host of Global Spiritual Revolution Radio, a media group for the past 25 years. So really excited about that, and really excited to really unpack this powerful topic tonight concerning the history and the origins of Black Wall Street.
You know, it's very interesting. When I heard about Black Wall Street, I was like, well, how come, we had a talk in between our last show and this show about like how we never get taught real history in history class, and it's almost like programming and stuff like that, and I feel like this is a big part of that.
Hit that like button, y'all. I need y'all just tuning in to this live that's just coming in, and hit the like button, thumb up the video, and to support the channel. Y'all want to support the channel, Cash App tags at the bottom right of the screen. Make sure y'all thumb up on videos and drop the fire emojis in the chat if y'all can hear me in the audio loud and clear. Let's continue with the second half of the bill.
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Like, within my friends, I live in LA. It's a very multicultural society where we live, this city we live in. And it's like I couldn't think of being racist against anybody. I love the diversity that we live in. This weaponized diversity that Hollywood's gone, that's a whole different thing. But the beauty of this multiculturalism that we live in, I think it's one of our country's greatest strengths is that, I can live in Los Angeles and I can jump in a taxi drove by an Armenian and go to a nightclub and hear urban music and meet a Mexican chick and go get Chinese food and like all that. I love the diversity of that, man. But when you hear about stories like this, it like sinks my heart to know that there was a group of people trying to grow and be better their lives, and that some bigoted and some very ugly people just basically took fire to it and destroyed it. So it makes me sad because I hear a lot of people, and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Sometimes I hear a lot of stuff about racism here, racism there, and I maybe because I'm not a racist, I get like, come on, dude, not everybody hates everybody. But I know institutional racism was a big part of our country's history and a big part of the legal and our legal system, our law enforcement system was riddled and wrought with institutional racism. And people need to acknowledge that and that part of our history. So where would you like to begin, sir? Where would you like this journey to take our listeners on? Where would you like to start?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sam, and to all of your listeners. The history and the origins of Black Wall Street, in order to understand what's going on today in the foreground, we got to go back to the background. Very few people in America, but also specifically in Black America, even knows about this part of history. And so if we can just kind of lay the foundation here concerning the history or the historicity of the origins of Black Wall Street. It begins in 1763. When we talk about the U.S. origins of the smallpox conspiracy, okay, when the British Empire in 1763 challenged the powers that be here in the United States at Fort Pitt there in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I believe it was built around 1758, but quickly here, the Indian population, Brother Sam, was almost decimated and destroyed because of the deep state of the British Empire had laced a lot of the blankets and a lot of the clothing with smallpox. So then the British government wanted to end, the Indians to end their alliance with the French. So the Native American national structure, brother, clothing with smallpox. So then,
I want y'all to listen to what he just said. I'm running back.
The British government wanted to end, the Indians to end their alliance with the French. So the Native American national structure, Brother Sam, was nearly destroyed because of this colonial germ warfare. And we're talking about going back as early as the 1400s through Christopher Columbus. Christopher Columbus is not a hero. I don't know why we celebrate his birthday, but he had almost decimated the Indians going back to the early 1400s, along with Amerigo Vespucci, from whence we get the term America, who was a brutal slave owner, and he had laced a lot of.
And let me correct my man's right quick, because I'm gonna have to do the correct. Amerigo Vespucci is not his original name. See, America was already named America before he came here, and his name was Alberto Vespucci. When he came here and met the Amaru tribes in Florida, he then changed his name to Amerigo Vespucci, naming himself after America.
Native Indians here in the United States with smallpox. So what I'm doing, I'm a Black conservative, Brother Sam. I'm not teaching victimhood, but my assignment here tonight is kind of the lay the background structure in order for your listeners to understand the tragedy, the massacre of what happened back on May the 30th, 1921.
I'm very excited about this. I just want to jump in real quick because, you brought up something. Why do we celebrate, Christopher Columbus? I, being half Armenian, half Italian, at a very early age, said I would rather celebrate Joe DiMaggio as an Italian than celebrate Christopher Columbus. These pirates, and he was a pirate, man. His job was to find gold for the queen. That was his job. And what is, we've learned this over time, Brother Larry, is that what is up is really down, sir. Right?
Yeah.
What we get taught the opposite of what is really real. And if you take a look at today and we talk deep state, that's a wonderful term to use on the show, about how we talk about how these people are using chemical weapons on their civilians. That is exactly what was done here.
That exactly. You go back to President Andrew Jackson in the May 20th, 1830, the Indian Removal Act, through the Trail of Tears. And so in order for us to understand what happened to Black Wall Street, we have to go back further into history, Brother Sam, to understand what happened to the indigenous Indians. Okay. Now, as we move forward here quickly,
y'all can hear everything loud and clear, man. Support the channel. Support the channel if y'all feeling the bill, man. I need y'all to thumb up the video. I need to try to get 200 people in this live stream before the hour and 30-minute marker. We got like 20 minutes, 18 minutes, you know what I'm saying, give or take. So support the channel, share the live stream. I appreciate everybody for coming in. Peace and blessings. Let's continue the second half of the live stream dealing with the history of the Black Wall Street. Let's go.
Between 1901 and 1907, the state of Oklahoma in 1907 becomes the 46th state in these United States of America. A man by the name of Wyatt Tate Brady, an oil man. To all of your listeners, always remember this key word that I'm going to be teaching your listeners throughout the broadcast tonight, and that is the term oil or oil man. Okay, and so there's a reason why Black Wall Street was destroyed. It wasn't just because of a systematic racism. It goes deeper than that. So Wyatt Tate Brady, an oil man, a politician, a high-level Ku Klux Klansman, a KKK, and the founder of Tulsa, Oklahoma, who was one of the founding fathers of the Oklahoma State Democratic Party. And so I want to preface this to your listeners. The KKK was not created by the Republican Party. The KKK was created by the left, by the Democratic Party. And so as we move forward here quickly, in 1898, this Wyatt Tate Brady, Brother Sam, signed the official charter to incorporate Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1907. Now, the Democratic Party dominated Oklahoma politics for a period between 1907 to 1994. Now let's get into the origins of Black Wall Street. Now, Black Americans came to the state of Oklahoma during the Native American removal in the 1830s. When I said it just a few minutes,
the Indian Removal Act. This is how you get the Trail of Tears story, where 1% of the Aboriginal people on the east and southern coast migrated west. Only 1% left. The 99% stayed and gave up their tribal rules. So this is what he's talking about. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Let's turn up, y'all.
Ago, when President Andrew Jackson systematically had removed the Indians from their territories so that the United States government could overtake the land. Why? Because the land that the Indians occupied had oil and mineral reserves.
Oh,
okay.
My God. So we are again. Yeah. The same story that we see that we're doing in the Middle East. It went from like
the same thing is to divide and conquer. And so then we're talking about in 1863, quickly, the Emancipation Proclamation. 2 years later, in 1865, the 13th Amendment, thus abolishing slavery. Jim Crow. Now, Jim Crow, and I'm coming up to Black Wall Street. Now, I'm just kind of laying this foundation for your listeners.
Take your time,
yes.
Man. I'm loving this. Take your time.
Absolutely.
Whatever you want to talk about, I'm in, my friend.
So when we understand Jim Crowism, now Jim Crow was established during Reconstruction between 1865 to 1877 after the Civil War, which lasted from 1861 to 1865. Thomas D. Rice, whose nickname was Daddy Rice, wrote a song concerning slavery, concerning this term and that we all know this powerful term of Jim Crowism. Okay, so this slave song that he wrote entitled "Jump Jim Crow." So then Thomas D. Rice, from whom the Jim Crow laws were named after, owned a plot of land, Brother Sam, during the early to mid 1800s, actually up until 1845. He owned a plot of land in Oklahoma, and that plot of land covers what we call Greenwood, Oklahoma, or Black Wall Street. There you go. So then that's from the book, The Luciferian, The Elite Secret Knowledge of Power, Money, and Control by Dr. Andrei Drzowski. Now, quickly here, from 1860 to 1933, here are the key players, Brother Sam, who were orchestrated, okay, to bring about a destruction of what we call Black Wall Street in Greenwood, Oklahoma. Charles Nathaniel Haskell, a lawyer and a oil man, okay, a politician, was the first governor of the state of Oklahoma. He also enacted the Jim Crow laws in the 1930s.
Okay. Real quick, before we're getting into the destruction, I just want to lay a little foundation down. Okay.
Yes.
First of all, Jim Crow laws were, so what I know of history, the Jim Crow laws were so destructive to the Black community as the war on drugs, as the hip hop, crime rhyme culture that we're doing. But we recently had this brush up where this one comedian did an Asian joke, and these Asian actors who are in a movie called Crazy Rich Asians enacted this political correctness thing, bringing up a word that they said was used to demonize their people 150 years ago. But what they weren't telling their listeners or their fans, that today in this environment, Asians have a higher standard of living than Jews, a higher standing of living than whites. They have the most the highest rate of two-parent households, and the most doctors, the highest ratio of doctors in any population. And in particular, when we talk about two-parent households, like why that makes them so different than the Black community, why we have seen the systematic destruction of the Black family unit. So these people who have all tried to hijack the civil rights movement from the Black community, like they can't even, like, dude, it's almost laughable that actors in a movie called Crazy Rich Asians are trying to act like what they've been through in these modern days has nothing is even close to what the Black community went through. And the reason I bring this up is I have this joke, and I can never make it work, but I go, if you're not doing well right now, some of it, not all of it, has to do with what your ancestor did. And that was robbed from the Black community, dude. They were never allowed to accumulate generational wealth. They were never allowed to do that.
Talk that shit, white boy. Talk that shit, white boy. He going in.
There's nothing is even close to what the Black community went through. And the reason I bring this up is I have this joke, and I can never make it work, but I go, if you're not doing well right now, some of it, not all of it, has to do with what your ancestor did. And that was robbed from the Black community, dude. They were never allowed.
Talk that shit, white boy. Make sure y'all hit that like button, man. Support the channel, man. Support the channel, man. Cash Out tags is going across the screen. PayPal information as well. Big Aboriginal Power, all one word on PayPal if y'all want to support the channel, man. Let's continue.
Accumulate in here, but I go, if you're not doing well right now, some of it, not all of it, has to do with what your ancestor did. And that was robbed from the Black community, dude. They were never allowed to accumulate generational wealth. They were never allowed to do that. They were crippled out the gate.
And that was by design. And I'm so glad that you brought that up. That was by design, and this Black Wall Street. And I'm so very happy that you reached out to me, Brother Sam, concerning this Black Wall Street, because it needs to be talked about, because it's all interconnected into what you're saying. And by the way, as a side note quickly, the greatest destruction and tragedy of the Black family is not racism. The greatest destruction and tragedy of the Black family today is the lack of fathers in Black homes.
Yeah,
that's the destruction. It's not racism, because racism is always going to be here. But if you have that father, okay, I don't care what type of ethnicity he has. When you have that father in that home, that father can direct that son and daughter how to navigate around racism. So it goes right back to the history and to the origins of what we call the originations of Black Wall Street. Now, one of the other key players was a man.
And I want to make a key point, like Realize said. He said it was initially called Negro Wall Street. So what they're saying, Black, this is a revived social way of saying it. But in that term, in that time, they would have never called it Black. It would have been Negro Wall Street. That's correct. Shout out to that brother for saying that in the chat. Shout out to Realize.
By the name of William Henry Murray, who was the first Speaker of the House in the Oklahoma House of Representatives, a high-ranking Klansman, okay? All of the Democratic Party in Oklahoma was not Republicans. They were Democrats.
There you go. So real quick, Larry, I'm sorry, just because I want to get to what this is. Before we decide to get into the destruction of Black Wall Street, I want to know what was Black Wall Street, meaning why did this scare everybody? What did it represent? Because Johnny is the guy's running the ones and twos for me, and he's from North Carolina, and he brought up that there was the one thing that you had brought up.
Yeah, there was a coup in Wilmington, a government of mostly Blacks and then whites that were working with Blacks at the time was elected in the city of Wilmington in North Carolina, and they were overthrown by 2,000, like a white mob basically overthrew that government and murdered hundreds of people, and then the state took it out of all the textbooks and would not teach that history, and still doesn't up to this point. I mean, they tried to bury it basically.
So we see this happening we see this happening again. And listen, man, I really got to say this to not. This isn't you, Larry, but this is to the listeners.
How many of y'all knew that happened in? How many of y'all knew that happened in Wilmington? Let's run that back.
Mostly Blacks and then whites that were working with.
In the ones and twos for me, and he's from North Carolina, and he brought up that there was the one thing that you had brought up.
Yeah, there was a coup in Wilmington, a government of mostly Blacks and then whites that were working with Blacks at the time was elected in the city of Wilmington in North Carolina, and they were overthrown by 2,000, like a white mob basically overthrew that government and murdered hundreds of people, and then the state took it out of all the textbooks and would not teach that history, and still doesn't up to this point. I mean, they tried to bury it basically.
So we see this happening we see this happening again. And listen, man, I really got to say this to not. This isn't you, Larry, but this is to the listeners. We must realize that we are more alike than we are different. And I know we live in this culture right now that gets us all to fight with each other over scraps. There's the demons. There's the gay agenda. There's the Jewish agenda. There's white people are racist. And it's all this shit that they just get us all to fight with each other. And at the very top, it's the same people. So, man, yes, I get, when I hear white privilege, I go nuts. I'm from upstate New York, man. My area is riddled with heroin and crystal meth. I have a cousin whose husband's in jail for cooking crystal meth. I have family members who their family unit.
I think you say he got a cousin in jail for cooking crystal meth. Run this shit back.
Hear white privilege? I go nuts. I'm from upstate New York, man. My area is riddled with heroin and crystal meth. I have a cousin whose husband's in jail for cooking crystal meth. I have family members who their family unit is completely destroyed. So when I hear people say white privilege, it drives me crazy. And then when I hear white people get mad at when we talk Black, I go, you have to understand that, because that's what's happening to your community right now. And it's just the truth, man.
Absolutely. And one of your staff members who brought up the Wilmington, North Carolina conspiracy, and it's so interesting that they should bring that up. a couple of weeks ago, I was on a radio broadcast in Dallas, Texas, talking about that same situation where you had the North Carolina Democratic Party, full of Klansmen and racists, overtook duly elected Republican and populist politicians, okay, burnt down an all-black Republican conservative newspaper, okay, and the model, for, not to get away from Black Wall Street, but for the model of the North Carolina Democratic Party during that time was to lynch every Negro and to bury their bodies, okay, in the Red Sea or in the Red Scared Sea or river in North Carolina. So you hit a powerful nerve. Your staff member hit a powerful nerve with me, because this is not coming from the right. This is being perpetuated from the left. Yeah. And give me a few minutes here quickly here, because again, Sam, I absolutely love your show, sir, because it's exposing the things that need to be exposed. This Klansman, William Henry Murray, quickly here became the 9th governor of the state of Oklahoma. And he was also one of the founding members of the Oklahoma Democratic Party, okay, who was instrumental on calling on the National Guard on the afternoon of May the 30th, 1921, okay, to recruit thousands and thousands and thousands of soldiers from the National Guard to get into airplanes, which was a surplus of planes that they used in World War I, to drop turpentine bombs on the black citizens of Greenwood, Oklahoma. Why? It wasn't just because of racism. The land that the black citizens of Greenwood, Oklahoma had oil, had mineral rights. That's the reason why that they bombed Greenwood, Oklahoma. Okay, and check this. Why was it? Why was Greenwood, Oklahoma bombed? Okay, it all started because a 17-year-old white girl, and again, I'm not teaching racism or black and white. What I'm doing is systematically exposing the left here tonight, as we're exposing the origins of Black Wall Street. The mayor of Tulsa, Oklahoma, was a man by the name of T.D. Evans, okay, whose niece was a young 17-year-old white girl by the name of Sarah Page. Sarah Page got a job, okay, as an elevator operator at the Drexel building a week before the massacre. Number one, how does a 17-year-old girl get a job? She was the niece of the mayor of Tulsa, Oklahoma, T.D. Evans, who was also a high-ranking KKK Grand Wizard. He was also a member of the Knights of Liberty, which is an offshoot, Brother Sam, of the KKK. So here is a young black African-American man, 19 years old, okay, by the name of Dick Rowland, who was a shoe shiner, and he needed to use the restroom. And by the way, this is Memorial Day. Why are government buildings open on Memorial Day? I'll get to that in a couple of minutes. So the Sarah Page is the elevator operator. And so this Dick Rowland, who's 19 years old, runs to the elevator, trips and falls accidentally, and touches her right foot, touches her foot. She cries racism, okay? Now here is a man by the name of William Hale, Hale, who was the George Soros of that day. Oil man, okay? And this William Hale, who had financially orchestrated the destruction, the Holocaust of Black Wall Street, was given millions of dollars to the National Guard, okay, to the governor of the state of Oklahoma, okay, all involved in this conspiracy to decimate a people. So this William Hale also was indicted in 1929 because he was killing off all of the Osage Indians in Central and South Oklahoma. Why? Because these Indians were multimillionaires who were making millions of dollars because of oil that was on their land. So William Hale, the Democratic Party, and these white Klansmen wanted the oil, not just from the Indians, my friend, but also from the black citizens of Wall Street. Okay, so quickly here now, your question is, why Wall Street? Why was Greenwood, Oklahoma, called Wall Street? There was a section of Greenwood, Oklahoma, and by the way, Greenwood, Oklahoma was anywhere from 35 to 50 blocks in circumference, okay? So Greenwood, Oklahoma had a section called Millionaire's Rows, okay? Millionaire Row, okay? A black multimillionaire by the name of O.W. Gurley, capital G-U-R-L-E-Y, bought the land, which is now called Greenwood, in 1889. He bought 40 acres of land without the mule, but he bought 40 acres of land, which is now called Greenwood, Oklahoma, including his partner, J.B. Stratford, bought this parcel of land. So on the morning of May the 30th, 1921, this is getting good now. So this Dick Rowling, a young black kid, innocent, a shoe shiner, accidentally trips and touches the foot of Sarah Page, who is the niece of the mayor of Tulsa, Oklahoma, T.D. Evans, according to the book The Burning by Dr. Tim Madigan. So here, as we break this thing down, so this Sarah Page had gotten hired a week before the massacre on the 23rd of May in 1921 as an elevator operator, underage, at the Drexel building in downtown Tulsa. So on the morning of May the 30th, 1921, she cries rape, okay? They arrest this young man. And then, check this out, the Tulsa Tribune paper and the Morning Tulsa Daily newspaper had already printed the front page from the previous day on the 29th, but they post-dated it for the 30th the following day. They set this thing up before. Why? As a pretext. They used the girl as a pretext to bring about one of the greatest destructions of any section in the United States history.
Larry,
okay?
what you're talking about is a false flag. What we've seen over and over again. Listen, man, I really sometimes wonder if we took out all these, and I'm just going to call them lizard people because who knows who they are, these elitists, right? If we took these elitist people out, how many wars do you think would really happen? How much violence do you think would really happen? How much crashing of the economies would happen? I think very little. How much pain and suffering, how much drug addiction would happen? I think very, very little. I think a lot of this stuff is manufactured to make money for very rich people who will never feel the pain of their actions. We're seeing it right now.
They don't care. They don't care. I'm going to say something as a side note concerning Kobe Bryant. That this was not an accident.
I love it.
I don't want to hear about clouds and rains, and I don't want to hear that crap. This was not random, Sam. Okay, I'm going to get to that later on because he represented the present day Black Wall Street.
I agree.
And so there was something that the deep state was asking Kobe that he was refusing to do. You see, you have to understand how darkness represents.
I love that.
And so, absolutely. So this Black Wall Street, you had 70 black men with guns going downtown, okay, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, on the 30th of May in 1921, not to be killing any white people, but to help the sheriff to protect this young man, okay, Dick Rowland, from being lynched. And so these key players, this William Hale and Charles Haskell and William Murray, okay, all these Klansmen, okay, Governor James B.A. Robertson was involved with this conspiracy. Mayor T.D. Evans, all were complicit with the National Guard. They had gotten airplanes from the surplus from World War I, was dropping turpentine bombs, okay, on the citizens of Black Wall Street. The National Guard also had gotten at trucks, machine guns on the back of trucks, entering Greenwood like it's Iraq or Iran, okay? So the citizens of Black Wall Street were Black conservatives.
By the way, Larry, I love Black conservatives. I'm telling you this. I'm sorry to jump in. I love Black conservatives. I love them. So real quick, I just want to set the stage real quick before we get into the...
Hey, everybody hit that like button, man. Thumb up the video, man. If y'all appreciating the bill, if y'all enjoying it, support the channel. Support the channel, man. If y'all enjoying the bill, support the channel. We're exposing the Black Boule. We're talking about Black Wall Street and the conspiracies. Hey, man, this is a dope bill. Hopefully y'all enjoying it. Support the channel. Support the channel, man. Hey, I appreciate everybody for tapping in. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. You know what I'm saying? If you ain't follow me on Instagram, make sure you follow me on Instagram. It's at the bottom right of the screen. You see what I'm saying? It's at the bottom right of the screen by the Grizzly Bear. Follow me on Instagram. Let's get it.
Very affluent urban area. It's like a lot of people who are doing amazing stuff in this town, and it's that area. Was the business oil? Was the Black community making money off oil, banking? Was it commerce? What made this area so affluent that it made people nervous?
That is such a great question. It was a combination of oil. It was a combination of mineral rights. And also, they were setting on prime real estate that the establishment from the left wanted, okay? So when we say Black Wall Street, you have Black doctors, you have Black bankers, Black business owners, Black dentists, okay? Black grocery stores, you had Black taxis, you had Black schools, okay? You even had a couple of Black seminaries. You had a company that built private airplanes, what we call private jets. Black Wall Street, okay? Wow. That was the financial structure of Black Wall Street. Now, remember, during the 1970s, there was an R&B band called the Gap Band. And those men are from Greenwood, Oklahoma. And they wrote a song during the 1970s, You Dropped the Bomb on Me. Oh, that was concerning Black Wall Street.
You dropped the bomb on me, baby. Oh, my God.
Yes, that was concerning Black Wall Street. Those men, and look it up on the internet, they were all born in Greenwood, Oklahoma, which is Black Wall Street. You dropped the bomb on me. So then you have the governor of the state of Oklahoma, Governor James B.A. Robinson, who is also a 33rd degree Mason. Okay? Man. Absolutely. I'm telling you, brother, this is deep. Who is also a 33rd degree Mason of the Scottish Rite Order, okay, had sanctioned the destruction of Black Wall Street. It was a political coup d'etat. It was a Holocaust intended to overtake the oil, the mineral rights, and the subprime mortgage land of Greenwood. These were multimillionaires, okay? They didn't need white folk, okay? And I'm not teaching black and white. They were self-sustaining right, because of Jim Crow.
Larry, it sounds like to me, Black 9/11. That's what it sounds like to me.
A perfect analogy. Black 9/11, that's, wow, that's great. I'm going to have to use that on my radio show.
Dude,
it is the of Black. Thank you, sir. It is the Black 9/11, okay? And so this massacre lasted from May the 30th to June the 1st of 1921. Now, the governor sent in more reinforcements from the National Guard on the morning of June the 1st at 9:15 a.m. Then did they go into Black Wall Street to protect the citizens? No, they were having breakfast. They were eating breakfast while the citizens in Greenwood were being slaughtered, okay? And so then 300 African-American citizens were murdered, 800 were injured, 13 non-blacks were killed, okay? Over 6,000 black people were arrested and detained and given green cards to go to work for a white family that they had never worked for before. They didn't need white folk. These people were self-sustained. What the system wanted was to degrade them, okay, and to put them on the psychological and the financial plantation, okay?
Yeah.
And so and even today, there are mass graves of people buried in fields, buried in oil wells. This is how wicked, okay, the left was. And so when we talk about the origins in the history of Black Wall Street, the left, I'm telling you, this indicts the Democratic Party. And this is the reason why they want Donald Trump out. Now, listen, Donald Trump is not perfect, okay? Donald Trump is not a perfect man. But I'm telling you, we had the lowest unemployment rate in history because of President Trump, okay? We had the greatest economy in history because of President Trump, okay? And so the left wants to create this Russian hoax, this Ukraine hoax, and it's nothing but a present day Black Wall Street attempt to destroy America. And so when we talked about a minute ago, Kobe Bryant.
Hey, mind you, this video that you're hearing is almost 2 years old. So this is before the invasion of Russia and Ukraine. This is 2 years old. This guy's on some shit. I'm just letting y'all know.
But I'm telling you, we had the lowest unemployment rate in history because of President Trump, okay? We had the greatest economy in history because of President Trump, okay? And so the left wants to create this Russian hoax, this Ukraine hoax, and it's nothing but a present day Black Wall Street attempt to destroy America. And so when we talked about a minute ago, Kobe Bryant, I do not believe that this crash was accidental or by random. Okay, see, you have to understand, see, Boule, there's a secret society called the Boule Secret Society.
Talk to me about that. Talk to me about that.
BOUL', which goes back to 1915, when Dr. Henry McKee Minton and 6 other Black associates who were doctors and lawyers and dentists created a Black Skulls and Bones because they were prohibited to join the Yale University Skulls and Bones. So they created, with Rockefeller money now, the Boule Secret Society. Kobe Bryant was a Boule. LeBron James is a Boule, okay? Jay-Z or Gay-Z is a Boule.
Rockefeller Records? Rockefeller Records.
Now, the Boule Secret Society. Kobe Bryant was a Boule. LeBron James is a Boule, okay? Jay-Z or Gay-Z is a Boule.
Rockefeller Records? Rockefeller Records.
All Boules. You got Reverend Al, vitamin B deficient sharpen. He's a Boule. Jesse Jackson's a Boule. They're all Boules.
Oh my God.
By
Records.
They're all Boules. You got Reverend Al, vitamin B deficient sharpen. He's a Boule. Jesse Jackson's a Boule. They're all Boules.
Oh my God.
By the system, okay? So the Kobe Bryant's death was not by accident. Look at his logo at the Mamba Academy. The logo with the M, with the serpent going around the letter M, chewing its own tail. That is a high-level Luciferian occultic sign. And if you don't do what the system says, they would take you out. Ask Michael Jordan concerning his father. Okay? So listen, so people are hearing that, I don't believe that, Bishop. I don't care. This Boule Secret Society, thank you for bringing that up. And check out the Mumbai or the Mamba Academy logo or insignia. So then, the deep state, the present day Black Wall Street, okay, You had Kobe Bryant, you got LeBron James, you got Oprah Winfrey, you got Denzel Washington. All are a part of the Black Skulls and Bones. Now, why were they created? They were created, Sam, to be the protectors of the system. Now, remember the Knights of the Round Table that you and I learned in school, okay, years ago. The Knights of the Round Table had 9 distinct.
Y'all want me to keep this bill going for another hour or two? Support the channel, man. Support the channel. Support the channel. If y'all don't thumb up these videos, like the button, support the channel. We're gonna end this motherfucker soon. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Hit that like button, thumb up the video, man. Drop them fire emojis in the chat. Drip check. You know the vibes.
Knights. Some say as high as 150. The 9 distinct knights represents 9 of the 13 Illuminati families that control 99% of the world's wealth. Okay, we are talking about Rothschilds and Rockefellers. Okay, about the Oppenheimers. Okay, we're talking about George Soros. We're talking about the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Club of Rome. So these 9 families.
I'm gonna keep it going, Kenneth. If y'all support the channel, hit that like button, share the live stream. Let's get 182 likes in here.
Okay. About the Oppenheimers. Okay. We're talking about George Soros. We're talking about the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Club of Rome. So these 9 families are designated a Boule Black Greek letter secret society. Now, the Boules are the oldest Black Greek lettered secret society in history, which covers 9 Black Greek lettered secret societies. Okay, Omega Psi Phi. Louis Farrakhan is a Boule. Look it up. Louis Farrakhan is a Boule. So in 1941 in Los Angeles, where you guys are now, there was a Boule international convention.
Let me just, Larry, I hate to do this because I want to get into when we took a look at the Martin Luther King assassination. Okay, they were all Black fraternities, and you're telling me that these are Boules?
They're all Boules. Jesse Jackson, Rob Abernathy. You look at Reverend Billy Kyle, capital Kyles. He said on a video, okay, on YouTube, that he was instructed to move out of the way so that the shooter could have a clean shot at Dr. King. They're all Boules, all of them, okay? Even the Lorraine Hotel that was owned by the Bailey family, they're Boules. Dr. King was a Boule, but he left the Boule Secret Society 1 month before his assassination. So that was a takeout, okay? Just like Kobe Bryant, okay? Let's like Whitney Houston, okay? All of these people who died in such a mysterious way, so that you and I who are awakened, we are, listen, anyone that with eyes and 2 ears, 2 eyes and 2 ears can see and hear the Boule Secret Society. You have 9 Greek Black lettered secret societies that each secret Black lettered Greek society, Omega Psi Phi, okay, all of the Black Greek secret societies protect each of the 9 knights of the Round Table. That's a great picture that you guys are showing. Okay, that represents the Greek Sphinx in Greek Hellenistical theology. That was half male, half female, representing, okay, the sexual disorientation agenda of the Boule, with the right paw on what we call an urn, capital U-R-N, which they keep ashes of dead people. There is a sign on the urn that represents the wheel within the wheel within the wheel, which means that the Boules are not only the protectors of the table. See, they don't own the table, but they are the protectors of the table. They don't own the crab barrel. They are the supervisors or the field foremans that oversee the crab barrel of Black America. Why? To keep Black Americans in check. This is the reason why you have people like Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, who is so revered in Black American history. He was a Boule, okay? It was Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois in 1929 who was approached by Margaret Sanger to create the first abortion clinic in Black America in 1929 in Harlem, New York. Who was responsible for that? These Black Boules in 1929 who was approached by Margaret Sanger to create the first abortion clinic in Black America in 1929 in Harlem, New York. Who was responsible for that? These Black Boule preachers. Adam Clayton Powell Sr.
And nobody gonna support the channel, man. In 10 minutes, we going, hey, telling y'all, hit that like button, support the channel. Hit that like button, support the channel, y'all. Y'all got to support the channel, man. Hit that like button, thumb them videos up. Y'all hit that thumb up button, drop them fire emojis in the chat. Drop them fire emojis in the chat. Yeah. Y'all hear that bell? Let's get it, man. Y'all already know what the vibes is, man. I need y'all to thumb up the video, support the channel. Cash App tag at the bottom right of the screen by the Grizzly Bear. Make sure y'all follow me on Instagram too, so y'all can tag my shit in.
Adam Clayton Powell Jr. was involved. So then Margaret Sanger to each pastor.
Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about? Oh, what the?
Hold on, man. I actually hit the wrong goddamn button. Give me 2 seconds.
Oh, what?
Give me 2 seconds.
Because they've been paid off.
Yeah.
Brian did not want to be paid off. It's the conspiracy of syphilis to inject 600 black men. These Black Boule preachers. Adam Clayton Powell Sr. was involved. Sick human weeds because they've been paid off.
Yeah.
Brian did not want to get to the water.
He's done a joke. It's a joke, but it's like people say white people are evil. I go, no, we're just better at it. You know, you sell drugs in the corner in the hood. People came out.
Look at what talk had created the template of what we call buck breaking, where the slave buck system wants the Boules, okay, to kowtow to the Luciferian system. Have you guys heard of the term buck breaking? B-U-C-K.
I've heard of buck dancing.
Slavery.
Buck dancing, is that the same thing?
What was that? What was that, sir?
Is buck dancing the same thing?
Almost, but not quite. When you look up the term bucket breaking, it goes back to slavery, going back to the 1600s. And that term buck breaking was created and designed by a slave owner by the name of Willie Lynch. Willie Lynch had created the template of what we call buck breaking, where the slave, most of the slaves who could not be controlled, were sent to the Caribbean islands. We're talking about Cuba.
Hold on. I think we was a little bit before.
That was concerning Black Wall Street, which is Black Wall Street. You apps of Greenwood. These were multi-millionaires this morning of June the 1st at 9:15 a.m. Then did they go into Black Wall Street to protect the citizens? No. They were having breakfast.
Hold on. Let me skip this up.
Michael Jordan concerning his.
Hold on. We got to get to where it was.
You can see in here the Boule Secret Society. You have 9 Greek black letter secret societies that each secret black letter Greek society
support the channel, y'all. Let me skip it.
All right. Not only the protectors of the table. See, they don't own the table.
Okay, this is where we was. Let's get it up to where we was, y'all.
In Harlem, New York. Who was responsible for that? These Black Boule preachers. Adam Clayton Powell Sr. was a supervisors or the field foremans that oversee the crap barrel of Black America. Why? To keep Black Americans in check.
Shout out to Copper Tone for the Cash App donation. We appreciate all the support, man. Shout out to Copper Tone. Make sure y'all support the channel, man. Don't let Copper Tone be the only one support the channel, man. Let's get it in.
This is the reason why you have people like Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, who is so revered in Black American history.
All right, this is where
he was a Boule, okay? It was Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois in 1929 who was approached by Margaret Sanger to create the first abortion clinic in Black America in 1929 in Harlem, New York. Who was responsible for that? These Black Boule preachers. Adam Clayton Powell Sr. was involved. Adam Clayton Powell Jr. was involved. So then Margaret Sanger gave $500 to each pastor in the Harlem Pastoral Alliance in April of 1929. For what? To create the first abortion clinic in Black America, okay, in 1929. So their wife to abort Black children. Margaret Sanger in 1926, okay, went to the Silver Lake, New Jersey, a town called Silver Lake, New Jersey, and spoke to the Women's Auxiliary of the KKK and said that Black people are like human weeds. So why are Black preachers supporting Margaret Sanger today? Why is it that these Black Boule preachers, okay, are supporting the genocide of not just Black children, but children, period, because they've been paid off.
Yeah.
Brian did not want to be paid off. You see, they want, listen, the system wants the Boules, okay, to kowtow to the Luciferian system. Have you guys heard of the term buck breaking? B-U-C-K.
I've heard of buck dancing.
Slavery.
Buck dancing, is that the same thing?
What was that? What was that, sir?
Is buck dancing the same thing?
Almost, but not quite. When you look up the term bucket breaking, it goes back to slavery, going back to the 1600s. And that term buck breaking was created and designed by a slave owner by the name of Willie Lynch. Willie Lynch had created the template of what we call buck breaking, where the slave, most of the slaves who could not be controlled were sent to the Caribbean islands. We're talking about Cuba. We're talking about Jamaica, okay, and St. Martinique. So they were tied down to the ground, okay, chest first. They were stripped and they were molested by the slave master, okay? So when we look at slavery concerning the history and the origins of Black Wall Street, it also is manifested in buck breaking. In other words, Kobe Bryant did not want the buck break anymore. What did they ask him to do? Was it sexual? Was it to wear a dress? Okay. Kobe Bryant was building not just a brand, but a global major studio in Hollywood. Somebody didn't want that.
Well, you know, real quick, Larry, there's a couple of
things. Yeah. He was in the threat. Go ahead, Sam.
Sorry about that. I mean, this is 100% true. There was an article that came out that Kobe was going to file a lawsuit against a pharmaceutical company for putting out a drug called Black Mamba, and he was going to court with that. That is something, and make no doubts about it. The pharmaceutical companies are the most gangster of all gangsters. I mean, like, you know, I've always done a joke. It's a joke, but it's like, people always say white people are evil. I go, no, we're just better at it. You know, you sell drugs on the corner in the hood. We sell them on the corner, but they're called CVS's and Rite Aids. You know, we wear lab coats and stuff. But the truth is, and Larry, what you're talking about is what I've been saying ever since I started doing this show. It's all an inside job.
Yeah.
Perpetrated by people who sell out their own. Hitler, his father and his grandfather and his grandmother, Jewish, okay? The people who funded Hitler, Jewish. The people who created the schemes in which to categorize who is here were the Roth. And when I say Jewish, I mean Rothschilds, who were actually Khazarians. But like that's the when that one senator said, "Oh, the Rothschilds control the weather," and everyone went nuts. Oh, he says the Jews control the weather. He didn't say that. Okay, that's identity politics at work. But when we take a look at it, it's always an inside job. When we want to take a look at the assassination of Martin Luther King, yes, there's the information that just came out that some FBI agents put a pillow over his face. But the setup, the kill shot, was done by Jesse Jackson and others. It's always an inside job. Always. Soros, all these people. And now what we're taking a look at, because I see I have something on here called Present Day Black Wall Street, which is Hollywood. And the message.
Shout out to Shot Alpha and Craig supporting the $1 challenge. Shout out to Matthew, Craig, and Shot Alpha for supporting the $1 challenge. Make sure y'all support the channel, man. Support the channel. Y'all enjoying the video. Let's get it.
That is put out there, man. Listen to me. I love NWA. I was listening to Tupac and Biggie and all those, but that was systematically done. Okay. Now I'm not telling you that gangster rap, that there weren't people out there doing it, but how prominent it came when people like Public Enemy were pushed to the side, De La Soul, Bone Thugs and Harmony, all these people put aside, and gangster rap, NWA, and all that stuff was pushed to the front, was done systematically, man. While the flooding of drugs into the hood by Rick Ross. I don't know why I've had him on the show and I'd have him on again, but I don't know why we celebrate this guy. He should be apologizing to us, to your community, for what he's done. I mean, it's just like you were making $1 million off your people. This gay agenda, this trans agenda stuff. I know a lot of trans. They don't want any of this stuff. When they see this crazy stuff, they send me, go, what is this? They don't like drag queens and trans meeting with second graders. But those people doing that is inside job. Those drag queens reading to children, that's an inside job. I love RuPaul. Her show, Drag Race, is hilarious. That show she's doing.
He said he loved RuPaul. Man, RuPaul's a dude, man. Big, tall, ugly, bald head ass dude with a wig on. Fuck wrong with you, dude. You wildin'. These white boys on here freaky than a motherfucker.
Meeting with second graders. But those people doing that is inside job. Those drag queens reading to children, that's an inside job. I love RuPaul. Her show, Drag Race, is hilarious. That show she's doing where she's on Netflix and she's with some kid walking around, that is done purposely to scare people. She's taking a check and selling out her own by doing that show. That's show what they do damage.
And this is what they've done. This is what they did to Malcolm X, okay? Listen, Malcolm X, when you read the autobiography of Malcolm X, okay, Alex Haley was a boule, okay? Alex Haley, unbeknownst to Malcolm X, a few years, actually a year before the autobiography was beginning to take shape in 63. In 62, Malcolm X did not know that Alex Haley, okay, was working with a man by the name of Albert Balk, capital B-A-L-K, a journalist, okay, and both of these men, Albert Balk, okay, and okay, so Alex Haley were FBI agents. They were agents provocateurs, okay? And so after Malcolm's assassination, okay, 3 chapters were taken out of his book that stated the political conservative testament of Malcolm X. Malcolm X was a black conservative, but the system didn't want us to know that. In 1964, unbeknownst to a lot of black people, Sam, Malcolm X voted, okay, Republican, okay? Very few people know this. He voted for Barry Goldwater. So this is the reason when you again, going back to 1941, where you guys are in Los Angeles at Griffith Park, the Boule Secret Convention. This Boule International Convention took place at the Greek Amphitheater at Griffith Park. The term Griffith means gargoyle. That's that logo that you guys brought up a couple minutes ago of the Boule Secret Society. That's a griffin or a griffin. Okay, so then, and there was a man that oversaw this convention where you guys are by the name of Dr. Emmett Scott. Dr. Emmett Scott, okay, along with Dr. Robert Moton, capital M-O-T-O-N, worked with Booker T. Washington at Tuskegee University. You know what happened concerning the syphilis conspiracy? Who was involved with, who paid for that? A man by the name of Julius Rosenwald, a Zionist, paid $5 million, okay, to Tuskegee University. But Booker T. Washington didn't want this. So Dr. Emmett Scott, who was working along with Dr. Robert Moton, with President Woodrow Wilson, to bring about a conspiracy of syphilis to inject 600 black men and women to see how the body will respond. So they took out Booker T. Washington because in 1915, according to his autopsy, he had massive traces of syphilis in his body. Where did he get that from? So our own.
Hey man, if y'all enjoying the bill, man, hit that like button. Stop, hit that like button, support the channel, thumb up the video, share the live stream. If you're feeling like you want to support the channel, Cash App tagged at the bottom right of the screen. Let me give a special shout out to Melissa Smith for the Cash App donation. We appreciate all the support over here on Big Aboriginal Power channel. This is the Wake and Bake Bill, so we definitely appreciate all the energy and all the support. Shout out once again to Melissa Smith. Make sure y'all support the channel. Don't let Melissa Smith be the only one support the channel. Let's go, y'all.
The body will respond. So they took out Booker T. Washington because in 1915, according to his autopsy, he had massive traces of syphilis in his body. Where did he get that from? So our own people took out our own people. And so in 1932, the syphilis conspiracy began and has destroyed families to this day. Okay, so you talk about the Boule Secret Society. The KKK was not started by white people. Okay, I got y'all's attention now.
Oh my God, what are you saying?
Oh, I'm rattling some fences. The KKK was started by a Zionist by the name of Benjamin P. Judah, who was a Rothschild agent in 1865. In 1865, Benjamin P. Judah, who was also a close associate with a man by the name of August Belmont Schurenberg. Now, August Belmont Schurenberg was a slave owner here in New York who never lynched his slaves, Sam. He would burn his slaves at the stake. That's why the horse race is called the Belmont Stakes.
What?
It's named after August Belmont Schurenberg, who burnt his slaves at the stake. That's why it's called the Belmont Stakes.
What are they doing? Why would they name it that? It's unbelievable.
Zion created the KKK. White folk had nothing to do with that. This is a lie perpetuated by the Democrats, okay, since 1865, along with Albert Pike, built and constructed of what we call the Ku Klux Klan, okay? So when you look at the...
Albert Pike did do that, creating the Knights of the Golden Circle, all that little shit.
History of Black Wall Street. Kobe Bryant was taken out, not because it was his time to go. There was something that he did not want to do that the Luciferian system wanted him to do. Okay, look at Bill Cosby. They knew Bill Cosby was a rapist, but they exposed Bill Cosby because he remembers years ago, he wanted to buy NBC.
Yes,
a black man wanted to buy NBC. What happened? They took out his son. Oh no, that was, see, again, these boules are being used by the global elite to protect them.
They're sheep herders, right? I say it all the time. People like Jay-Z, Ice Cube. You know, when you saw Kanye, who's probably has dark arts in him, and he's trying to buy his soul back, which I don't think you could do, but he seems to be trying. They came out real quickly, Snoop Dogg, same thing, and really tried to herd this guy back into the herd. I've said this before, man, that black conservatives are the most punk rock thing I've ever seen in a long time. It takes a lot of bravery to I shouldn't use that term after saying this, but to go against what the herd mentality is, man. And, you know, we see it now with conservatives. Now we've been labeled woke with the black conservatives. Their name, you know, they're Uncle Toms, man. And these names that are like, you know, I remember listening to a radio show in which two hip hop artists were arguing about how this other artist was phony because he had two parents. And I'm like, man, what is that being said to people? And how many times do you, to the community, what message is that? And then you see like all these shows where these young kids were like, oh man, I didn't care. I thought I was going to go to jail anyways. Like, what are these messages? And, you know, for me, dude, whatever we live in, whether it's a dimension or a simulation, the thoughts you put out become your reality. And if you're constantly putting out to people that they're going to go to jail, they just start, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point. And people just start thinking they're going to go to jail. We see it happen all the time. I talk about this, man. Dark arts entertainment, man. And I'm complicit in it because I grew up on hip hop. I mean, I was introduced to Run DMC, but that was enlightening stuff. Like, we're talking right now, this like this demeaning, this stuff that's going on with Cardi B, all this stuff which is low end ratchet bullshit. Like, if you take a look at culture and Instagram, everything's like hood shit's all like gang banging, hood shit's all like just twerking. And don't get me wrong, I love twerking, but it's like and pharmaceutical, like everybody's doing the
promethazine, the codeine, the Oxycontin, all the kids are ODing, the rappers do that. I don't understand how there's 10 rappers dead and these kids still like every other day, some kid on OD, some kid on Oxycontin, on that syrup.
And it's like, and then when you have somebody who's enlightening people, they get called Uncle Tom and stuff. And like the only time it's not, dude, is when it's like a black conservative ripping white people. And like what my brother here is doing is not that. He's like, what we're talking about right here is an inside job. And what, and I go to, you know, I always see like, you know, because it's very easy in Hollywood. I pulled aside a black female comic like about a year ago, and I go, listen, man, I really like you. I've been around the block for a long time, and I've been following you, and I think you're a wonderful comic. But I've been noticing on your Twitter, you're starting to get more into this keying off on white guys. And I just want you to know that white guys really like you, and they're just trying to do their thing. And you're getting tweets and you're getting retweets. And guess what? It's probably not even real. It's bots making you think this is what people want to hear. And what you're doing, you're going down a road that leads to nowhere. Because I've seen people before you do this, and they're nowhere. They got really hooked on the tweets, the retweets, and the likes to make them think this diversion shit. Because what's really going on, and I think the masses need to know this, that we are more alike than we are different, okay? And that if the black community would go to the middle class and the poor white community goes, this is done to us, and now it's being done to you. Let's all gang up and let's come together on this instead of everybody pointing fingers on that. Oh, you think you have bad, I have it bad, and fight with each other. Yes, there will always be dumb people. I can find I can have a ton of dumb white people say dumb shit, you know, but the reality is most people are all going through the same shit. Most black families and most white families just want to make a dollar, feed their family, have a laugh, and get laid once in a while. You know, that's really what it's about. And this fighting with each other, it's just, that's all they want. Like, you know, I mean, this Virginia rally where you saw white men with guns and black men with guns, straight men with guns and gay people with guns. That is what their biggest fear is. And
that's what it is. They do not want you and I to be unified. It is too their detriment if you and I are unified. There was another Zionist in history by the name of Israel Cohen. Okay, he was a part of the Fabian Society in the 40s and 50s. He wrote a expose entitled "A Racial Program."
Man, I want y'all to support the channel, man. Hit that like button, support the channel, support the channel. You know what I'm saying? Cash out tags at the bottom right of the screen, man. Let's get it.
Another Zionist in history.
PayPal information is also ticking across the screen. I know a couple people asked me this week. It's at the bottom of the screen. This Big Aboriginal Power, all one word. Support the channel.
By the name of
Thumb up the video, man. We need to get 200 likes in the building.
Israel Cohen. Okay, he was a part of the Fabian Society in the 40s and 50s. He wrote a expose entitled "A Racial Program for the 20th Century." Again, a racial program for the 20th century, where he talks about future Hollywood and how they can use the Negro. And I keep telling black folks, stop calling each other Negro, because that term Negro comes from the Greek word necro, Necro, which means autopsy, or having sex with a dead body. That's what Negro.
My God, man. And what about the N-word, Larry? What about the N-word? Like, I do not understand why. And I believe at the highest levels, man, that this is a psyop. And in a think tank, okay, they decided let's use some of these Boule society people to get the culture. And I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this, to get the culture to say the N-word, and then we protect the N-word because we believe it's the only thing that we can do that white people can't do, because there's a small group of people in the black community that think white people can just go to the bank and get 50 grand. Like, we can just, like, would I be doing this show if I could just go to the bank and get 50 grand? No, I wouldn't. So this notion that, like, calling someone you love, like, openly the N-word is just like, it's a psyop, man. It's a psyop to get people to fight with each other, because the word should die. It should be done. And I'm going to be honest with you, outside the black community, there's very few groups that enjoy Jews don't enjoy calling each other kikes. Gays don't enjoy calling each other faggots. None of that shit. But the black community with the N-word is like, that's a psyop, man, to convince your people to call each other that word. And I know that I'm going to get, oh, Sam, you don't know nothing. Or, Sam, you really want to.
Yeah, you knew it was coming, white boy. You don't know a motherfucking thing, nigga. That's our word, nigga. What wrong with you, nigga? These my niggas in the motherfucking chat, nigga. What wrong with you?
Say it. I hate to tell you, I have a bit where I talk about being called the N-word 3 times in my life. Right. And those are.
Nigga, you just mad because you can't say it, nigga. You be wanting to say it like a motherfucker.
Real things. One by Paul Mooney, one by when I was cross the street, and another one by a woman I was having sex with. So those are the 3 times I've been called those words. So I don't want to say the word. If I want to say the word, I'm a comedian. I talk about all the words. I would say the word. Okay. I'm not jealous. It leads to us fighting with each other. It's another psyop to get us all to fight with each other. And it needs to go away. It's the most useless, crazy power, like hold on the power I've ever seen in my life, man. It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's a psyop. When you look at the word sagging, capital SAGG.
You don't say sagging this niggas backwards. Well, nobody want to hear that bullshit.
Well, wait, Gus, they take him out. When you get someone like Kobe Bryant who can put 2 syllables together, unlike Shaquille O'Neal, they take him out. They don't want anyone with any type of intelligentsia or type. I'm telling you, they will take
you, dude,
out.
I totally agree with it, man. As you know, there's this whole thing that I you have this segment of societies, white people that like they watch the mainstream media and all they are is like tell them how demonized white people are. They get really angry, and then when they hear something like this, sometimes they get really.
Because you white people are very evil, man. You just said that y'all was the better evil motherfuckers. Everybody evil, but y'all just good at it. So now you don't want motherfuckers calling you the evil fuckers that y'all are?
And it's not. And it's like, dude, these women have picked the most unavailable men to be with. And these men leave them. Obviously, Kim's been with Kanye for a while, but there was a series of guys she just ran through, rappers and pro athletes. And it was like, oh man, look at him.
Yeah, and the black dude over here defending white, somebody it wasn't the KKK. Nigga, shut your old coon bootlicking bootlicker.
We're acting. This is how we act. And then you just see it's like, oh, I don't need a man, or I could be around, I could do this, I could do that. And it's just like, well, no, man, you gotta realize these women have millions of dollars. I mean, when you see somebody make $1 billion and you don't know why they made $1 billion, to me, they're being paid off to never tell what happened.
Yes. You look at Black America, our spending power.
All right, man, I'm gonna end this video right here, man. I appreciate everybody for coming in. Man, I wish we could have got 200 likes in the building today. That would have been dope. Wish we would have got some more people to support the channel and share the live stream. That would have been dope. I appreciate everybody for coming in, man. I'll see y'all sometime this week. Make sure y'all hit that like button, thumb up the video, support the channel. I appreciate everybody for tapping in, man. We're going to keep it going with the heat. You know what I'm saying? Sometime this week, next week, whatever. We're going to keep it going, man. Yeah, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Drop them fire emojis in the chat, man. Drop them fire emojis in the chat. All right. Drop them things in the chat, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Appreciate everybody, man. It's your brother, Big Aboriginal Power. This is the Wake and Bake Show. If you're watching this now and you're not subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I mean, right next to that, hit that notification bell. You know what I mean? So you can get all your latest updates and notifications to the live stream. All right. With that being said, man, make sure y'all go follow me on Instagram at big_Aboriginal_power, man. That's big_Aboriginal_power, man. Go follow me on Instagram. We out of here. Peace, love, and light to the American Aborigines, man. Be safe, stay aware, stay vigilant, stay dangerous. It's your brother, Aboriginal Power, and we out.
Suave on the track.
Whatever it takes. Alleyway.
Coco, this your season right now.
They won't see me. They won't let me, yeah. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the strap. I know the eyes wanna murder. I got a feeling, keep my stomach paranoid, yeah. I won't let them, yeah. They won't see me, yeah. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the strap. I know the eyes wanna murder. I got a feeling, keep my stomach paranoid, yeah. I can't let them, yeah. They won't see me, yeah. I put attention, all of my blood, all of my veins. They started with perky, now that hair on them is veins. You started with serving, now them drugs drove you insane. Started with dealing, I grew up with killers, they taught me the game. I got some niggas that die behind, and that shit won't never the same. I know some niggas that lie behind, and that bullet had his name. Ain't no reason to cry about, cause that shit won't never change. MTF the 4th and P, my niggas can't get out the game. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the stern. I know the eyes wanna murder. I got a feeling, keep my stomach paranoid, yeah. I won't let them, yeah. They won't see me, yeah. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the stern. I know the eyes wanna murder. I got a feeling, keep my stomach paranoid, yeah. I can't let them, yeah. They won't see me, yeah.